The red dust of Mars swirled around Dr. Ishida Takumi's environmental suit as he approached the mysterious structure protruding from the planet's surface. After 3 decades of robotic exploration, this was humanity's first manned mission to the Red Planet, and they had already stumbled upon something impossible: a perfect geometric dome of unknown origin, partially buried in the Martian soil. "Base, are you seeing this?" Takumi's voice crackled over the comm system. Behind him, Lieutenant Rosa Valdez secured their equipment, her movements precise despite the cumbersome suit. "Affirmative, Doctor. Readings are off the charts," Mission Control responded. "The energy signature is unlike anything we've ever recorded." Takumi pressed his gloved hand against the dome's smooth surface. The material felt warm despite the frigid Martian atmosphere, and beneath his touch, lines of light began to pulse outward like ripples in a pond. "It's responsive to contact," he breathed, wonder and apprehension mingling in his voice. That moment of discovery would later be marked as humanity's last hour of peace. The dome's surface suddenly blazed with brilliant blue light, and a beam shot skyward, piercing the thin Martian atmosphere. Within minutes, every astronomical observatory on Earth reported massive objects decelerating from faster-than-light travel, taking position around Earth's orbit. The North had arrived. Their first transmission was broadcast simultaneously on every electronic device on Earth. The alien beings appeared as tall, crystalline humanoids with faceted surfaces that shifted like liquid glass. Their leader, who identified itself as High Commander Vix, spoke in perfect English, its voice resonating with an otherworldly harmonic. "Humans of Earth," it began, "you have activated the Sentinel beacon. As per Protocol 7249 of the Galactic Concordat, your world is now subject to evaluation. Our preliminary analysis indicates your species poses an unacceptable risk to cosmic harmony. You will surrender your world for immediate quarantine and sequential processing." The global panic that followed was unprecedented. Governments scrambled to respond, military forces mobilized, and the scientific community worked frantically to understand the threat they faced. In the chaos, Takumi and Valdez were rushed back to Earth, their Mars mission abruptly terminated. At the International Space Defense Center in Geneva, Dr. Takumi found himself in a room with the world's leading scientists and military strategists. Among them was Dr. Nikolai Volkov, a brilliant microbiologist whose work on extremophiles had revolutionized our understanding of life's adaptability. "The North ships are positioned at key orbital points," General Wei announced, gesturing to the holographic display. "They've given us 72 hours to surrender, or they'll begin what they call processing. And we still don't know what that means," Valdez asked, her soldiers' instincts reading the threat in the ambiguous term. "No, but their technology is centuries beyond ours," someone replied. "Direct conflict would be suicide." Takumi studied the crystalline structure of a North, displayed in high resolution on the main screen. Something about their composition nagged at his scientific instincts. "Dr. Volkov," he said suddenly, "your work with thermophilic bacteria that produce unusual mineral formations, could there be a connection?" Volkov's eyes widened as he caught Takumi's train of thought. "The crystalline structure of their bodies. It's similar to the mineral deposits left by certain extremophile species, but they're much more complex, almost like they're living crystals," Takumi finished. "And if they're crystal-based life forms, then they might be vulnerable to certain frequencies of vibration," Valdez interjected, her military mind immediately grasping the tactical implications. The room erupted in activity as scientists and military personnel began to see the first glimmer of hope. They had 72 hours to develop a defense against an overwhelmingly superior force, but they had something the North hadn't counted on: humanity's ability to observe, adapt, and survive in the face of impossible odds. As teams were quickly assembled and resources mobilized, Takumi couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The North saw humans as a threat to cosmic harmony, Yet they had failed to recognize that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its technology or military might, but in its ability to understand and harness the natural world in unprecedented ways. The race against time had begun, and Earth's future hung in the balance. But for the first time since the alien ships appeared in orbit, humanity had hope. And sometimes, hope was the most powerful weapon of all. Dr. Volkov's laboratory hummed with activity as teams of scientists worked around the clock. Massive screens displayed real-time data from scanning electron microscopes, showing the intricate dance of bacteria interacting with crystalline structures. Time was running out. They had less than 48 hours before the North's deadline. "Look at this," Volkov called out, his voice tight with excitement. On his screen, a colony of extremophilic bacteria had begun to create unusual patterns in a synthetic crystal sample. The bacteria aren't just eating the crystal, they're restructuring it. Takumi leaned closer, his tired eyes widening. The patterns, they're similar to the fracture lines we observed in the Neurith transmission images. Lieutenant Valdez, who had been coordinating with military units worldwide, joined them at the workstation. "Can we weaponize it?" "Not directly," Volkov replied, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "But these bacteria have evolved to survive in conditions that would kill most life forms. They're constantly adapting, changing their own genetic structure to overcome new challenges." A loud chime interrupted their discussion. Another transmission from the North Fleet. High Commander Vix's crystalline face appeared on the main screen, its faceted features shifting in what seemed like amusement. "Your scientists are resourceful," it said, the harmonic overtones in its voice carrying a note of condescension. "We detect your attempts to understand our biology, a futile effort. Your primitive organic forms cannot comprehend the perfection of crystalline existence." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the laboratory in tense silence. But Takumi noticed something the aliens had missed. During the transmission, the bacterial cultures had responded to the harmonic frequencies in the North's voice, their activity increasing dramatically. "They're afraid," Valdez said suddenly, her military training helping her read between the lines. That message wasn't about showing superiority. It was about discouraging us from continuing this line of research. Volkov's fingers flew across his keyboard, correlating data. The bacteria are responding to specific frequencies in their communication. It's not just about vibration. It's about resonance at a molecular level. Working through the night, the team made a startling discovery. Earth's bacteria, which had evolved over billions of years to survive everything from volcanic vents to radioactive waste, were uniquely suited to interact with crystalline life forms. The North's supposed perfection was actually their greatest weakness. They had evolved in isolation, never developing defenses against the aggressive adaptability of Earth's microscopic life. General Wei arrived at dawn, as the team was preparing their first large-scale test. "The North ships are moving," he announced grimly. "They're taking up attack positions. We're out of time." "We need more time," Volkov protested, but Takumi held up a hand. "No," he said firmly. "We need to act now. The bacteria are ready. They've already adapted to attack crystalline structures at a molecular level. We just need a delivery system." Valdez stepped forward, her expression determined. "The atmospheric defense network. We can use it to disperse the bacteria globally, creating a protective barrier they'll have to pass through if they want to reach the surface." "But we haven't tested it properly," Volkov warned. "We don't know all the possible consequences." "We know the consequences of doing nothing," Takumi countered, watching as more North ships appeared on the tactical display. "Sometimes the greatest discoveries come from taking calculated risks." General Wade nodded grimly. "I'll give the order. God help us all." As the global defense network spun up, preparing to release clouds of microscopic defenders into Earth's atmosphere, Takumi couldn't help but reflect on the irony of their situation. The North had come to quarantine humanity, seeing them as a threat to cosmic harmony. Instead, they had forced humanity to unlock one of its greatest potential weapons, the ability to form symbiotic relationships with the simplest forms of life. The first Neurith ships entered the atmosphere, their crystalline hulls gleaming in the morning sun. As they descended, they passed through clouds of invisible defenders, billions of microscopic organisms that had evolved over eons to survive in the harshest conditions imaginable. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and humanity's greatest allies would be the smallest life forms on the planet. Alarms blared throughout the facility as the first engagement began. On the monitors, the team watched as their bacterial defenders made first contact with the Neurith ships. Now they would discover if humanity's desperate gambit would pay off, or if they had simply accelerated their own extinction. From orbit, the sight must have been remarkable. Clouds of apparently empty air causing massive crystalline ships to shudder and spark as Earth's microscopic defenders began their work. The question was, would it be enough to stop an invasion force that had conquered countless worlds across the galaxy? The world held its breath as the first Neurith ships encountered Earth's microscopic defense system. Within minutes, the seemingly invincible crystalline vessels began to show signs of distress. Their once smooth surfaces developed microscopic fractures that spread like spider webs across their hulls. Inside the command center, Takumi and his team watched the sensor readings with a mixture of hope and trepidation. "The bacteria are replicating faster than we predicted," Volkov announced, his eyes fixed on the rapidly changing data streams. "They're not just attacking the ships, they're evolving in real time." Lieutenant Valdez pointed to a tactical display showing the Neurith fleet's formation. "Look, they're pulling back. The first wave is retreating to high orbit." But their celebration was premature. High Commander Vix's image appeared on all screens, its crystalline features now showing clear signs of agitation. "You deploy primitive biological weapons against us." Its harmonic voice carried notes of both rage and fear. "Then you leave us no choice. Initiate mass crystallization." The remaining Neurith ships took up new positions, and suddenly, brilliant beams of energy lanced down from their vessels. Where the beams struck, the ground itself began to crystallize, transforming organic matter into crystalline structures similar to the Neurith themselves. "They're trying to change Earth's biosphere," Takumi realized with horror. "Make it more like their home world." But something unexpected happened. As the crystallization spread, the affected areas began to glow with an unusual bioluminescence. Dr. Volkov's instruments went wild as they detected massive spikes in bacterial activity. "The extremophiles," he breathed, watching the readings in amazement. "They're not just surviving the crystallization process, they're using it. The crystalline structures are acting like growth medium for them." The Neurith's attempt to transform Earth's environment had inadvertently given their microscopic adversaries an even better weapon. The bacteria were now using the crystallized zones as vast networks to spread and evolve even faster, developing new strategies to counter the alien threat. High Commander Vix's next transmission showed visible damage to its crystalline form. What are you?" it demanded, its harmonic voice distorting. "No species has ever. This is impossible." "We are humanity," General Wei responded, standing proud. "We are not just one species. We are millions of species working together. Earth isn't just our planet. It's a complex web of life that has evolved together for billions of years." The Neurith commander's response was cut short as more of its ships began showing signs of severe structural damage. The bacterial infection had spread throughout their fleet, attacking not just their vessels, but the Neurith themselves. Valdez monitored the tactical displays as Neurith ships began breaking formation. "They're retreating," she announced. "But something's wrong with their navigation. The ships are moving erratically." Volkov's analysis confirmed their suspicions. The bacteria haven't just damaged their ships, they've infected their control systems. The crystalline technology, the Neurith use, it's all susceptible. As they watched, the mighty invasion fleet that had threatened Earth began to crumble. Ships either retreated into deep space or broke apart, their crystalline structures dissolving under the relentless assault of Earth's microscopic defenders. But victory came with a sobering revelation. The crystallized zones left behind by the North's attack were spreading, albeit slowly. Earth's biosphere was changing, but not in the way the North had intended. Instead of becoming sterile and crystalline, these zones were transforming into something entirely new. A hybrid ecosystem where organic and crystalline life forms existed in complex symbiosis. "We didn't just defend Earth," Takumi said quietly, watching the transformed landscapes glowing with their newfound bioluminescence. "We've started the next stage of evolution on our planet." The victory over the North had come not through superior technology or military might, but through the fundamental nature of life on Earth, its endless capacity to adapt, evolve, and find new ways to survive. The question now was, what would humanity become as they learned to coexist with this new form of hybrid life they had inadvertently created? 6 months after the North invasion, Earth had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The crystallized zones, now called convergence fields, had stabilized, covering roughly 15% of the planet's surface. These areas gleamed with an otherworldly beauty, where crystalline structures merged seamlessly with organic life, creating entirely new ecosystems. At the International Biocrystal Research Center, formerly the Space Defense Center, Dr. Takumi stood before a wall of monitors displaying data from around the world. "The integration is accelerating," he explained to a panel of world leaders. "The bacteria aren't just surviving in these hybrid environments. They're orchestrating complex interactions between organic and crystalline life forms." Dr. Volkov, who had been studying samples from a convergence field in Siberia, pulled up a new set of readings. "Look at this cellular structure," he said, highlighting a microscopic image. "It's neither fully organic nor crystalline. It's something entirely new." Lieutenant Valdez, now Colonel Valdez, entered the room with urgent news. "We're detecting unusual energy signatures from the convergence fields," she reported. "They're forming some kind of network, communicating with each other across continents." The revelation sparked both excitement and concern. The transformed zones weren't just changing the planet's surface, they were creating a new kind of planetary nervous system, one that merged biological and crystalline technologies in ways that defied conventional understanding. But their observations were interrupted by an alert from deep space monitoring stations. A new fleet of ships was approaching, not North vessels, but something different. These ships appeared to be composed of both organic and crystalline materials, similar to Earth's new hybrid ecosystems. The incoming vessels established communication, and a surprising figure appeared on their screens. It was a being that seemed to flicker between organic and crystalline forms, its voice carrying familiar harmonic overtones, but mixed with more natural frequencies. "I am Ambassador Syra of the Galactic Council," it announced. "We have been observing your world since the North retreat. What you have achieved, it is unprecedented." The room fell silent as the ambassador continued. "The North believed in the superiority of pure crystalline life forms. Their attempt to process your world was part of a larger campaign to eliminate what they saw as primitive organic life. But you have demonstrated something remarkable: the potential for synthesis between different forms of life." Dr. Takumi stepped forward. "You're saying there are others like us? Other worlds where organic and crystalline life coexist?" "Yes and no," Syra replied. "There are worlds where both forms exist, but never have we seen such perfect integration. Your planet's microscopic life forms, combined with your species' ability to understand and guide their evolution, has created something entirely new. The convergence fields you've created could revolutionize our understanding of life itself." Colonel Valdez's tactical training kicked in. "And what does the Galactic Council want from us?" The ambassador's form shifted, showing more of its organic aspects. "We propose an alliance. Your world is now home to the most advanced biotechnology we've ever encountered. The North's attempt to destroy you has instead elevated humanity to a position of unique importance in the galaxy. As if to emphasize the point, the convergence fields across Earth pulsed with new intensity, their crystalline structures resonating in harmony with the ambassador's ship. The hybrid ecosystem they had created was already reaching out, ready to connect with the larger galaxy. The choice, of course, is yours, Syra continued. But know that what you have created here, this symphony of survival between organic and crystalline life, could be the key to healing ancient divisions in our galaxy. Dr. Volkov's instruments picked up new readings from the convergence fields. The bacterial networks, he said excitedly. They're not just communicating. They're sharing information, adapting their structure to match patterns in the ambassador's ship. They're already learning, evolving to interface with alien technology. Takumi looked at the transformed landscapes of Earth, glowing with bioluminescent beauty, then back at the hybrid ships in orbit. Humanity had not only survived an extinction-level threat, but had emerged transformed, becoming something greater than either purely organic or crystalline life. We didn't just defend ourselves, he realized. We've created a bridge between two fundamental forms of life in the universe. The North wanted to eliminate what they saw as primitive organic life, but in doing so, they helped us unlock the next stage of cosmic evolution. The world leaders present shared glances, knowing they faced a monumental decision. Earth could remain isolated, focusing on understanding and controlling their new hybrid ecosystems, or they could step onto the galactic stage as pioneers of a new form of life, one that proved strength didn't come from purity, but from the ability to adapt, combine, and grow stronger through diversity. 1 year after the Galactic Council's first contact, Earth had become a center of interstellar scientific research. The convergence fields had matured into stable ecosystems that defied traditional classification, where crystalline structures pulsed with organic life and bacteria engineered new forms of matter at the molecular level. In the largest convergence field, located in what was once the Sahara Desert, Dr. Takumi and his international team had established the Earth Galactic Integration Center. The massive facility, itself a hybrid of Earth and alien technology, rose from the crystalline landscape like a living cathedral. The latest results from Field 7 are remarkable, Dr. Volkov announced during the morning briefing. He projected a hologram showing microscopic structures that smoothly transitioned between organic cells and crystal matrices. The bacteria aren't just adapting anymore. They're actively designing new forms of life. Colonel Valdez, who now headed Earth's new Xenological Defense Force, studied the data with keen interest, and we're certain they're not developing anything dangerous. That's the most fascinating part, Takumi responded, manipulating the hologram to show a broader view of the ecosystem. The bacterial networks have developed what we can only describe as a form of collective intelligence. They're not just evolving randomly. They're working towards some kind of greater harmony. Ambassador Syra, who had become a permanent liaison between Earth and the Galactic Council, shifted their crystalline organic form in what the humans had learned was a gesture of agreement. What you've achieved here goes beyond mere technological advancement. You've created a new paradigm of life itself. But their discussion was interrupted by an urgent alert. The Deep Space Monitoring Network had detected a massive energy surge at the edge of the solar system. The readings were familiar. North ships, but far more than their first invasion fleet. They're back, Valdez said grimly, pulling up tactical displays. And this time they've brought their entire armada. The North Fleet's transmission came moments later. High Commander Vix, its crystalline form now reinforced with visible technological augmentations, appeared before them. Your abomination must end, it declared. The Council's tolerance of this corruption ends today. We will cleanse this system with our full might. But as the North Fleet approached Earth, something unprecedented occurred. The convergence fields across the planet began to pulse in perfect synchronization, their crystalline structures resonating with a power that dwarfed anything previously recorded. The bacterial networks, which had spent months quietly evolving and adapting, suddenly revealed their true potential. From every convergence field, streams of hybrid matter rose into the atmosphere, swarms of microscopic entities that were neither fully organic nor crystalline, but something transcendent of both. They moved with purpose, forming massive geometric patterns in Earth's orbit. The bacteria, Volkov whispered in awe, watching his instruments overload with data. They weren't just adapting to survive. They were preparing, learning, building. The North Fleet opened fire, their energy weapons lancing toward Earth. But the hybrid swarms intercepted every blast, absorbing the energy and using it to grow stronger. The bacterial intelligence had evolved defenses not just against the North's weapons, but against their fundamental nature. High Commander Vix's next transmission showed genuine fear. "What have you become?" "We've become what you feared most," Takumi responded, understanding finally dawning. Not the dominance of one form of life over another, but the proof that true strength comes from unity. Every attempt to destroy us has only made us stronger, more diverse, more adaptable. The hybrid swarms surrounded the North Fleet, and where they touched the crystalline ships, transformation began. Not destruction, but change. The same kind of change that had revolutionized Earth's biosphere. The North vessels began to pulse with organic life, their pure crystalline structures giving way to something more complex, more alive. "They're not attacking," Ambassador Sira observed with wonder. "They're healing. Your bacterial networks are curing the North of their own rigid perfectionism." As they watched, the mighty North Armada was transformed, their ships and crews experiencing the same evolution that Earth had undergone. The bacteria weren't seeking revenge. They were sharing the gift of synthesis, forcing the North to experience the very integration they had fought so hard to prevent. High Commander Vix's final transmission showed its form shifting, organic patterns flowing through its once pure, crystalline structure. We understand now," it said, its harmonic voice now carrying the richer tones of organic life. "This is not corruption. This is completion." The battle ended not with destruction, but with transformation. Earth had not just defended itself, it had changed the very nature of its would-be destroyers. The bacterial networks, guided by their collective intelligence and humanity's influence, had found a way to bridge the ancient divide between organic and crystalline life. As the transformed North Fleet settled into orbit alongside the Galactic Council ships, Takumi looked out at the glowing convergence field stretching to the horizon. "Maybe this was Earth's destiny all along," he said quietly. "Not to conquer or resist, but to show the galaxy that true evolution comes from embracing change, from finding strength in unity rather than purity." The gift humanity had given to the galaxy wasn't just a new form of life, it was a new way of thinking about life itself. In their desperate bid for survival, they had discovered something far greater: the power to transform enemies into allies, to turn conflict into harmony, and to prove that the future belonged not to those who resisted change, but to those who embraced it. The age of convergence had begun, and humanity stood at its center, ready to guide the galaxy toward a future where the boundaries between different forms of life dissolved, and something greater emerged from their union.